Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We are so excited to be here at the UW-Madison Diversity Forum. I am Tiffany Tardy, and I'm here from All Milwaukee, and we are looking forward to sharing more with you all about the secret sauce of collaboration and how All Milwaukee and the UW-Madison Office of Student Financial Aid are removing the red tape of partnership for limited income students of color on campus. So we are going to get started. I want to make sure that you all know kind of who's with us today. Maybe. There we go. So our team, so the folks that have been working on this partnership and collaboration, myself, Tiffany Tardy, the Managing Director of Program at All Milwaukee, and then I will let my colleagues introduce themselves as well.
Hello, my name is Lauren Gilbert, and I'm a scholar advisor here at All Milwaukee, and I work directly with the students at UW-Madison that are a part of our program.
And we're having a cozy day in the office. This is Greg Offerman from the Office of Student Financial Aid. We have our All in Milwaukee team here today this week to meet with our students. So excited to be with you all this morning, share about our collaboration with All in Milwaukee and the wonderful students that we're all collectively supporting. We'll turn it back over to Tiffany here.
Thanks, Greg. All right. So what our goals are for today is to really help you all understand the context and the barriers that are affecting students of color in college, specifically here at UW-Madison, understanding how we really have been able to couch ourselves in this larger pandemic and what it's been like in the pandemic year and how impactful we can be as we support students and families in their journeys. And then really we want to focus on this urgency around collaboration on campus. All in Milwaukee is a newer organization, and you're going to learn more about us. And our partnership is young on campus, and we really want to be able to strengthen our relationships across this wonderful campus and all of the great work that you all are doing. So what we're going to do today is really give you a context of who we are at All Milwaukee, as well as the work that's happening here at the Office of Student Financial Aid here at UW-Madison, the background of our partnership and the work that we've been doing, and then what the impact of our collaboration has looked like when we think about best practices and the outcomes that we've seen so far. And then we're going to have a call to action and really talk about what work we can do together to continue to support students here at UW-Madison. So first, I'll share a little bit about All in Milwaukee. We are a college completion program launched in 2018 in the city of Milwaukee. We're the first replication of Wallen Education Partners, which we'll share a little bit more about later, but a retention program in Minneapolis that is doing great work around supporting students. We currently have 200 students in the program. So over the last couple of years, we've grown from 40 students in the program to 200, and we're very excited about that growth that we have seen because we know that there is a major need in Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin when it comes to supporting and retaining students of color and making sure that they graduate college. So the All Milwaukee promise, we're very straightforward with what we hope to accomplish. We want our students to complete college. We want to work with them to help build their careers. And our goal in the end is to make sure that together we can transform the city of Milwaukee. So a little bit about the college completion crisis. Is this for you? Okay. I'm going to pass it over to our colleague, Lauren, to talk about the completion crisis in Milwaukee.
All right, thank you, Tiffany. So what's important for us to share is some of the context of why All in Milwaukee exists. And so in Milwaukee, we know through the statistics that the graduation rate for high school is 62%. But then we see a decline when students decide if they would like to go to college and they actually move through the steps of enrolling in college, we see a decrease down to 40%. And then we go down even further to 12% for college completion rates for 2-year and 4-year degrees. This is a crisis and it's an epidemic during a pandemic. So what we're here to do is to make sure that students not only go and enroll in college, but that they go to college with minimal debt and they're able to graduate college through our support and through our collaboration with UW-Madison. Some of the core issues that we focus on is improving and increasing the statistics and the percentages of students of color at the different various campuses that we serve. At Marquette, UW-Madison, UW-Milwaukee, and UW-Whitewater, you can see that compared to the actual overall population of students, there's only a small percentage of African-American students at each campus and Hispanic students at each campus. But today we're going to focus a lot deeper on UW-Madison. Out of the 100 population, 2% of those students is African-American and 5% Hispanic. This is a epidemic in the middle of a pandemic, but also something that we focus on to increase more students of color on campus, not only just getting them to enroll, but retaining them and helping them to graduate. The college completion crisis is something that we're also focusing on because, as you can see, there is a disparity in who's finishing within 4 years. And so our goal is to move that 6-year completion rate down to 4 years so that eliminates more debt and also gives them a chance to a better quality of life to go out in the world and begin earning after their 4th year versus staying in debt for 2 more years by going through a 6-year of college. So focusing on UW-Madison, we can see that for the different ethnic backgrounds, there's drastic differences between who's completing within a 4 to 6 year completion. So it is our goal that by reducing their debt and giving them the ability to focus on school by supplying a scholarship and resources on campus, that they would actually be able to focus on school, focus less on meeting their day-to-day needs, and have the things that they need to be successful, to feel supported on campus in a holistic way under 4 years. As Tiffany mentioned prior to, our program is a replica, the first replica of the Wallen Education Program in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They have proven results over a 30-year track record, which is why we mirror our program in many ways to the Wallen Education Program. Their college completion is not like the statistics you saw in the last slide, but they have a higher college completion of 90% of their students that come through their program, which are first generation, limited income students, and high achieving scholars of color, are finishing college at a 90% rate, which is much drastically different than the regular if a student were to just go through a university track on their own. They also have 40% of their students graduate with no debt at all, which means zero debt, zero loans that they have to pay back when they graduate, which is absurd but amazing. And that's what we aim to replicate. For career readiness, there's a 95% career placement rate for these scholars, which means that when they graduate, they will be placed in a career that matches their major or matches their purpose of interest. And they have 80% regional retention because the goal is that students go to college in their hometown or in their home state, and then they return to infiltrate the workforce to make sure that there's diverse talent, not even diverse talent going through college, but also staying in the area to diversify the workforce. And then the program impact. We have an amazing impact of alumni and people who come back through the Wallen Education Program. And so we're just proud to be a replication of a program that has these amazing results. And our track is on the same track to having results that look like this. The All of Milwaukee goals is for our scholars to complete college, like we mentioned, matriculate into the Milwaukee workforce so that we keep their talent to build up and make the workforce a more diverse place, and then that they graduate with less than $16,000 of debt, which means that our scholarship paired with the aid that UW-Madison is offering, a lot of our students have no debt, but all of our students across the campuses, we would like them to graduate with less than $16,000 in debt, which is in alignment with the average.
Thank you, Lauren. So a little bit more about our program. As we've mentioned, we really want to focus on students of color. So we support 100% limited income students of color from the city of Milwaukee, 94% of those students being first generation college students, and then 200 that we shared already of our students in the program representing Milwaukee and Racine high schools, 25 different high schools. So we really work hard with our pathway partners to nominate and support students from our community across all of the different institutions and community-based organizations within our community. We are working with 8 different university partners, UW-Madison being one of our largest partners, and we welcomed 95 new scholars in May of 2021. So like I said, we've kind of seen this exponential increase over time. And so we started off with 40 students, and now in our 3rd year, we were able to welcome 95 new students, and now we have a total of 200 students in the program. And then Lauren will talk a little bit about our specific UW-Madison students.
All right. So the unique and special reason why we're here today is to identify and talk more about the All in Milwaukee and the UW-Madison partnership. So 100% of our scholars that attend UW-Madison are 100% limited income students of color. 65 of our All in Milwaukee scholars are from 25 different Milwaukee high schools and Racine high schools. So we offer a diverse perspective of where we get our applicants from. And then we also have 27 new scholars that came in May 2021. So this is just a look at the composition of the students that we have at UW-Madison. We focus here on collaboration and coordination, and that's what makes All in Milwaukee special, is because we have 4 different areas that make us unique. Our pathway partners are the partners that we get our scholars from that nominate students to apply for our program. And that could be through different partnerships such as the Milwaukee Fellows, Pearls for Teen Girls, Crystal Ray, any of the MPS schools, and many other pathway partners that are great segues that we get our students from. The next partnerships that we have are with the university partners. Each of our partners in Wisconsin have a special package that they offer to our All in Milwaukee students. This is their way of making progress to be a more equitable place for students of color. And so they sign a promise to uphold equitable practices and reduce the debt for our students. So that's our second layer. The next layer is our donor partners. Those are the folks that fund our students and make sure that they're able to go to college with limited debt. These individual and corporate donor partners assign to students and make that contribution personally so that the students can graduate college. And we also have career partners that we work with, such as Northwestern Mutual and Johnson Controls and different places like that, where our students have internships with. So our goal is to make sure that we collaborate with other corporate partners in the city of Milwaukee to give our students a space to have internships through our partnership. But the reason why we're here today is because our partnership with UW-Madison is very special in the fact that we see several efforts on their part, particularly through Greg, who is our campus liaison, because with each of our university partners, we have a liaison that is designed to eliminate barriers, that because we're an outside entity coming into the university, this person is able to navigate challenges that our students face as a frontline person, and we collaborate with that person. So from the very beginning, Greg has been very accommodating, has always been very quick to move on student concerns, and has been also just a warm face and a warm, welcoming environment for students of color on campus. We're going to pass it over to Greg to talk more about our collaboration and what it means to be a liaison and how that collaboration looks.
All right, thanks so much, Lauren and Tiffany. So I'll talk a little bit about the Office of Student Financial Aid and really why it's become so easy for us to serve in this capacity that Lauren and Tiffany are talking about. So right from the top, our mission here, we're committed to providing equitable access to financial resources for all students while supporting the enrollment goals of the university and the educational values of Wisconsin. And more specifically, I serve on the advising team that is very heavily involved in outreach and in financial capability programming. And so our role as an advising team within the Office of Student Financial Aid it's very mission aligned with what All in Milwaukee is looking to accomplish, and like we talked about, Wallen Education Partners and some other of their pathway partners. So it's really served as a with us serving as a front porch to the university for them, it's also served as a front porch to get connected with others out in Milwaukee and around the Midwest that can help us serve greater numbers of students as well. So that's what our mission is. We take the resources we have and aim to equitably supply those resources to students on campus and ultimately grow the enrollment goals of the university and make sure that our students here are getting what they need, being successful academically, socially, and otherwise. So the fun thing about the very first time that I met, at the time it was just Tiffany and Allison Wagner, the executive director, who isn't on the call with us today, but when I met them and they shared their initial list of students with UW-Madison that they were looking at enrolling in the fall of 2019, pretty much all of them were going to be in the fast track program. So right from the start, it was very mission aligned with how we awarded our financial aid for our Wisconsin students. And so most of these students were in the fast track program, meaning they're a Wisconsin student, all of them incoming freshmen. Because they were going to receive, or they had received a form of public assistance, you can see our criteria here for receiving the fast track aid offer and being a part of the fast track program that Jocelyn Diaz-Valdez on our team leads. They were all going to be a part of this program anyways. And so that right away was a very logical place to start this partnership and make sure that the students were supported, not only through the financial aid that was provided through the fast track program, but also the programming that Jocelyn and her team now are providing to students and continuing to evolve as we move semester to semester and year to year. So right from the start, again, it was very easy for us to welcome All in Milwaukee in, make sure their students were supported in these financial aid programs that were already existing, and then we could really focus on helping them make those connections around campus and support them in ways that they were seeing and hearing from students that they needed. And then, of course, too, we have Bucky's Tuition Promise, which is a commitment to Wisconsin residents, incoming freshmen, and transfer students whose families have an adjusted gross income of $60,000 or less. And so now as the program has grown, first year we had 12 students, 27 in year two, another 27 this year. And so we have more students in the program, 65 in total. And most of them are fast track, but some of them also fall into Bucky's Tuition Promise that are Pell eligible, but maybe don't meet the criteria to be a part of fast track. And so we have some of the students in both of our programs that are doing the same thing, meeting their full financial need with the need-based dollars that we're fortunate to have and supply to students. And again, then we can kind of combine the programming. And I always like to talk about throwing multiple hugs around our students from all the different programs that we have on campus. So starting with financial aid and then branching out as we're able to and need to, we're able to support the students in all the ways that they need. So we talked about the kind of the logical starting point for our partnership with All in Milwaukee here at UW-Madison, and it was with financial aid, given the great resources, the fortunate resources that we have to support our students that have great financial need. And so it starts with that financial aid. And then from there, like I talked about, we can kind of serve as the front porch to the rest of campus. I mean, knowing what our campus is, a very large, decentralized operation, it takes a while to get to know people and get to know who you need to talk to in terms of advising or getting the right classes across campus. And so that's what our team has worked very hard to do with our team of 12 now in the advising operation of financial aid. We have a lot of connections across campus, and we're not afraid to use those connections to make sure that especially All in Milwaukee and other partners that we work with are able to get what they need and quite honestly take us out of it and make sure that they have those connections on campus and can pick up the phone and connect with them as well. So that's really what we aim to do. And through that, probably we have a series of situations that are successful that we can connect All in Milwaukee to the resources they need on campus. And through a combination of all of those things, we're starting to see some structural change and some awareness around not only the All in Milwaukee students we have on campus, but other students that are part of other programs on campus too, that we're able to help them get connected and really make sure that especially our students from limited income backgrounds and especially our students of color are being successful on campus, because we all know what we're aiming to do here, and that's make UW-Madison a place that everybody can see themselves being successful. So that's the evolution of our All in Milwaukee and OSFA partnership on campus, starting with financial aid, and again, moving through all the different campus connections and making sure that we can make a very big decentralized campus feel small and welcoming and knowing where to connect students around as they need.
Yes. Thank you, Greg, for sharing how UW-Madison supports our scholars. We appreciate you. One of the things that we wanted to talk deeply about was some of the barriers that our students face as scholars of color on this campus and on any predominantly white campus. And so some of the things that are very important for us to note is that these situations and these barriers existed prior to the pandemic, but they also were very magnified through the pandemic as well. And so we want to not only talk deeper about those barriers, but then talk about how UW-Madison, in collaboration with All in Milwaukee, addressed those barriers in the midst of the pandemic and still at this time. So some of the barriers that students face would be a sense of belonging, feeling as though they're worthy, they deserve to be here, and that can be a part of a bigger, national thing that we all see in this country. But that's a sense of identity and value and validation that students need to feel when they come to campus. And a lot of students would share different instances that they would struggle with their peers in terms of feeling like they were not an outsider or a chocolate chip in a big glass of milk is some ways that they might describe it. So that sense of belonging is very important because that will impact their mental health, their ability to focus, and their ability to stay enrolled at a university. And so it's very important for students to feel valued, to know what resources to tap into when they don't feel valued, and to have a support system here on campus where they can feel like they can make it through their college degree in this environment. Some of the other barriers would be housing. Traditionally, students of this age or this population struggle with finding on-campus housing or support in that sense at our other universities. But here at UW-Madison, housing is a part of their package. So no student is left behind in terms of finding somewhere to live and having a consistent place to lay their head throughout the pandemic and throughout their school time. So that's another barrier. Another barrier would be financial stability. And one of the things that we appreciate about UW-Madison was right away when the pandemic took place, they were already sending out signals to get emergency grants to our scholars right away. So anytime something came out in the Office of Financial Aid, there were no gatekeeping in terms of what students would only get these resources, but instead it was like a floodgate of what's the need? Let's meet it. And if we can't meet it, let's find another resource that the student can get their needs met so that they can focus on school and not focus on what am I going to eat? Where am I going to live? And how am I going to sustain myself? So we really appreciate that not only was Madison quick to give out emergency grants, but Greg was also a very much so a frontline person that we texted, we called, we emailed, and he always responded within 0.5 seconds with a solution of what to do for our students, which is not common on every campus. And so we really want to highlight that it's important that we don't create extra barriers for students to get their needs met, but that we open the floodgates to make sure that one, they feel comfortable asking for what it is they need, but also that they're welcomed and asked to ask for what they need. And then there's not an extra barrier for them applying to and getting the disbursement of their needs met. So All in Milwaukee and UW-Madison together in their collaboration make sure that we address these different needs through our various workshops, through our strategic partnerships on campus. And anytime we have a need for a student, Greg is like, great, let me connect you to this office and start a bridging conversation of how we can better collaborate so that our students have a good experience. Just one example would be we have a lot of students that apply to the business school or that desire to be a business candidate. And so we realize that we may not know from our perspective how that process works or how the application works. But we know that if we ask Greg connected us to someone in the Office of Business who was able to walk us through, hey, this is when the timeline starts for students to apply. These are the things that they should do on their checklist prior to applying. And then here are the ways that they make sure they have a solid application. And so some of those barriers that exist for scholars of color or first generation students is that they may not have the background or someone who did the journey before them to give them those tips and tricks. But because of our collaboration, we make it so that it's accessible for all students, not in a way where they have to go fishing for information. And not to say that they're not accountable for their own journey or advocating for themselves. But one of the biggest barriers that exists for students of color in higher education is the kind of the goose chase of information. Mm-hmm. So by having our resources in one space and having our campus navigator through Greg is able to connect us quicker than a student trying to find an office on campus on their own. And that is really the secret sauce of collaboration, is reducing the barriers that students need to be successful, but welcoming them in to say, what is the need? Let's meet the need and be positive about meeting the need instead of making the student feel like they're a deficient, approaching everything through an asset-based lens to say, what are the assets on campus? What is the asset within the student? And let's connect those together so that they get their needs met. Mm-hmm. Some of the support that All in Milwaukee offers is our 4 different pillars of support. And so that's our financial support. So each scholar gets a scholarship, and the amounts may vary based on the campus or based on the need that the scholar has. But we are a last dollar agreement, which means that the scholar exhausts all their grants, all their opportunities from the campus, and then we step in and make sure that we cover the gap as best we can for that student so that they can focus on their studies. The academic support that we offer is we connect students to resources on campus. We encourage them to go to office hours. We talk to them about note-taking. We encourage them to practice good time management. And we also have workshops and individual meetings with them one-on-one each month. And each scholar has the opportunity to share the challenges that they're facing academically. And then we triage with them, we problem solve with them, and then we encourage them to not be afraid to go to office hours, to not be afraid to reach out to their TA. And then when we feel like a student really needs tutoring and they're being stubborn with us, we're saying go anyway. So we are that extra voice in their head that encourages them to plug in where they need academic support. For social and emotional support, All in Milwaukee, we offer social outings. So we have anything from going to the Admirals game, to going bowling together, to doing anything you can think of, barbecues, all those kinds of things, game nights, just to feel like they're forming a sense of belonging between other students like themselves who are moving towards a shared common goal. We also do things by campus as well. So we have nitty-gritty outings. If anybody is familiar with Madison, nitty-gritty is a staple. And so we meet with all our students and have good meals with them to make sure that they're okay and that they're emotionally well and they're doing well. But we all know that mental health is an important factor to consider when we talk about students of color and first generation students, because they're such a, they come in with a lot of different stressors. That could be from home, that could be imposter syndrome, that could be anything that is emotionally weighing on them. It could also be being in a class and realizing that they may be one of the only people of color in their class. And so that may cause emotional turmoil. So what do we do about it? We talked to Greg and asked, were there any counselors of color in the mental health office or in the counseling center? And he immediately connected us with folks that he felt like were a good fit for our students that could understand their backgrounds. So we encourage them to go to counseling. We also do workshops with them on imposter syndrome. We have an upcoming workshop with them that we're talking about how to thrive and not just survive as a student of color in higher education. And so we really do dive deeply with them in some of those barrier topics that may create a barrier. We want to address those head on, talk to them about it in a safe place, and then bring in other campus resources when we need to with our collaboration. And then the last sector of our scholar support is career readiness. We work with our scholars from the very first moment they enter our program, looking at their resumes, giving them resume feedback, critique, doing mock interviews with them, talking to them about what professional attire is. We offer headshots for each of our students, and we put them in environments such as our winter and our summer institutes, where we have career professionals of color come from Milwaukee and talk to our students about their journey and how they navigate being a person of color in the workplace. And we also work with them to be authentic in their spaces, but be professional, but present their best selves. And what does that mixture look like? And so we have very unique but necessary conversations with our scholars to make sure that when they graduate, one, they're competitive, two, they're sought after, and three, that they can thrive in the workplace.
Thank you, Ms. Lauren. So I put this slide back up again because, as you've heard so far, our goal is really to focus on how we work together to support students. And so we really appreciate this partnership because we feel like we're mission aligned. There's work to do here on campus, and the fact that our partners, Greg, leadership, are open to that and recognize the need and want to go further and deeper in supporting students and graduating students from the university, really thinking about that campus climate piece and how we can make sure that we're building scale through all Milwaukee, how we can make sure that we are building that sense of belonging, because we know that can be a large barrier for students in their experiences here. And a lot of that really kind of calmed in the pandemic with us being virtual, and now we're back open, and here we are with those issues kind of rearing their ugly heads again. And so together we recognize the value and the power in our partnership. And so Lauren talked some about some of the things that we've done as a collaborative entity, and we're going to pass it over to Greg to talk a lot more about the work that we've been doing together to really reduce and eliminate these barriers for our students on campus.
Before I jump into this slide, I think they've made me feel a bit uncomfortable. I need to deflect a little bit here because as they're sharing these examples, I'm thinking, nope, that was Carrie Temkin, that was Clyde Gaines, that was Jocelyn, that was Molly Jo Bouch. Like these are all of my teammates. That was Katie Weisenberger. Like these are all the quick huddles that we're able to take as a team and come together and really find a solution that we can put forward to make sure that it would work for the students and for the All in Milwaukee team. So it really is a team effort on our part in the Office of Student Financial Aid to pull it all together. And honestly, a huge thank you out to our leadership. And when we started this partnership with All in Milwaukee, Derek Kindle was our director, and now Helen Faith, who really make it easy for us to take these partnerships and listen and pay attention to what Lauren and Tiffany are asking for and telling us what they need and to go get those things done. So thank you to our team and to our leadership for sure for making it easy for us to do this work. So talking about the collaboration and the collaboration being key and what's really worked for us here in the Office of Student Financial Aid with All in Milwaukee and now with other partners too, that we have this fantastic blueprint to make it work with others. We've talked about the financial support, our fast track program, our Bucky's Tuition Promise program. They make it easy for anybody, any program out there in the state of Wisconsin or outside even, to plug in with us and make it so we can meet that full financial need for students and then kind of start to shift our focus to some of these other things that are going to be quick to pop up after the financial need is taken care of. Communication is a big one. I mean, our team, they're talking about me being available in 0.5 seconds. I think I might be the slowest one on our team. Our team of advisors, check us out on our website. There's again, 12 of us and more across the office on our various teams that are always quick to support all of our students here. But we try and communicate weekly, make sure that All in Milwaukee and our other partners as well are plugged into our parent and family program, are plugged into the communications, especially during COVID, that come directly from Chancellor Blank, so they know what's going on, so they can know what their students are going through and what they can expect to see here. And obviously, timely response to student concerns and needs are what we're here for. I mean, we're here to serve students and to serve those that are supporting students. So those are our biggest priorities in our team here. And so, of course, we're going to be quick to respond to those. And the university updates and programming resources. One thing I always, for students on our campus that are either new to campus or can't find a resource that they need and we've exhausted all opportunities, I tell students, make sure you ask for those things. That's sometimes the quickest way to make sure a new resource can be developed is to ask for those things either from your department or from your TA, whoever that person may be. And so that's been just an awesome thing that the All in Milwaukee team has been able to do, is to ask us for what they need, and then we can set our sights on that. Some of the successes we've had, the connections to campus that Lauren and Tiffany have talked about here, just having some introductory meetings to various campus departments and units, and this session today kind of serves as that a larger example of that, where we've had similar meetings across campus, and maybe with specific students in mind, but we really want to open the door for others to just have some awareness about the All in Milwaukee program and the talented students that they're bringing to UW-Madison and how we're seeking to support them. The summer collegiate experience has been an opportunity that we've been very fortunate to have some of our All in Milwaukee students be a part of, and obviously would love to have, as we move forward, more of our All in Milwaukee students, or all of our All in Milwaukee students that are able to or interested in it, to be a part of that program too, because that summer bridge experience is, you can't replace that. It's just such a fantastic program that we have on our campus that's doing great work, and obviously would love to have space for all of the All in Milwaukee students and more too. So we know they're doing great work, and it's proven to serve our students well here. We've been able to make sure our students in housing get set up on the multicultural floor in Whitty or any other learning community that they may be interested in. Housing's been a tremendous partner for us to go to and ask questions, especially during the pandemic, where there seemed to be a housing question or a potential housing change every day, 3 or 4 or 5 a week throughout the last year and a half. So they've been tremendous in serving not just All in Milwaukee students, but all students, and of course, just being quick to serve and quick to make sure students are taken care of so they can, again, focus on what's most important to them here on campus. The Center for Educational Opportunity has been fantastic for us, quite honestly. For all of the All in Milwaukee students we have, again, I'm talking about the multiple hugs that we're able to throw around students. For students who aren't in another program, we have a number of them who are part of the PEOPLE program or get selected into the Center for Academic Excellence. The CO program is very interested in supporting all of our All in Milwaukee students that aren't already in another program. And so the last couple of years, we've really been able to work well with them to scoop students up into CO and make sure that they get the support there if they want it and need it. So that's been fantastic. And then the coordination with the SOAR team has been, again, used fantastic again. They've just been, this year, Max Wagner was quick to, he messaged me before I even reached out to him to start looking out and thinking about the All in Milwaukee students. So a shout out to them for sure for thinking about us and making sure that the students were taken care of, and we get them all signed up for SOAR and get them enrolled in their courses. And then, of course, our STAR lab here, our Student Success Through Applied Research Lab, led by Dr. Nick Hellman, has been fantastic. With All in Milwaukee being a new program, we want to study the success of our UW-Madison students here, and how does that compare elsewhere? How does that compare to our other limited income students on campus? How does that compare to our other students of color on campus? And see, we can see and feel and we know about the impact that All in Milwaukee has and our partnership has on a daily basis, but to be able to study that long term with big data behind it is truly something you can't replace. So we're excited to see what those results begin to look like as we get those results in here over the coming months and years.
Thank you, Greg, and to all of our partners at UW-Madison. So we know in this work, data is important and it does matter. So we're looking forward to our STAR Lab data, but we also wanted to make sure that we shared with you our results so far. So these are the results for our first 2 classes, and this is across all of our classes. So we're talking about collaboration in the work that we're doing across at UW-Madison, but we're doing similar work at all of our 8 university partner campuses. And so we are very proud, even though we are young. We're in our third year. We're very proud of the results so far, particularly in the pandemic year and a half, and really the toll that has taken on results in higher education and education overall. And so we're excited to think about the work that our team is doing, but really our amazing students and the hard work and resilience and grit that they have shown through this time. So we have 94% of our students who are currently still enrolled at a university. Within our partners in our program, 83% of them being on track. We do have a 2.5 GPA requirement, and so we have 83% of those students who are on track meeting that requirement, and you can see here on the right, averaging at an over 3.0 GPA, which is incredible. Any of our students who do hit below that requirement, we do not remove them from our program. We actually wrap around additional support for them and put them on what we call a scholar success plan. And so the advisor works with them even more, much more intentional, much more prescriptive with the work that they do so they can build effective habits to be successful in college. And like I said, so you see that we're averaging at a 3.24 GPA, an average of close to 14 credits for students. And so on track at that full-time status each semester is really important for us as well. And we're excited to share that. And then another huge thing for us is that overall in our program, 90% of our students have no debt. And the other 10% are on track to graduate within that goal, like we said, with very little debt or half the state average of $16,000 in debt. So we know that the partnerships are working, that the support financially and otherwise is making a difference in the experiences of our students. And so these results look incredible, but I'm going to pass it on to Lauren to share you our results at UW-Madison, in which case you will be even more excited.
All right, so those were some amazing results in general for across the program, but I want to talk deeply about our UW-Madison results for our scholars that are here. It's actually higher in all areas, but specifically 97.4% of our students that enter at UW-Madison, 97.4 of those scholars have been retained and are still enrolled full-time at UW-Madison. 95% of our students also met and exceeded our 2.5 GPA requirement and have upheld 12 credits or more through their time at UW-Madison. They also had an average, even through the pandemic, of 13.49 credits, so about 14 credits that they were taking and upholding last semester. And then their cumulative GPA across the board for all of our scholars has been 3.3, which is very high, and we're very proud of them for exceeding our 2.5 GPA requirement. And then drum roll, please. 100% of our scholars here at UW-Madison have no debt, which means that they have no loans they have to pay back. They have not had to pay out of pocket. 100% of our scholars are here and they don't have to worry about their financial strains, which means that during the pandemic, while many of our other students or other students across the country were going out and getting 2 or 3 jobs to maintain some of the impact of the pandemic, our students were able to just focus on school and 100% focus on their classes, which is why their grades were higher than just the average of our scholars overall. They were able to decide whether or not they wanted to work. And the students that do decide to work in an area that will advance their career and advance their resume versus because they have financial gap or financial need. So they were able to not only focus on their studies, but also had stable housing through the pandemic that while other students chose to go home in the midst of the pandemic from our other universities, Madison students, 59% of them chose to stay on campus and kind of preferred to be here and do their classes even remote from their residence halls, which is something that we're proud of.
All right, call to action. There's always got to be a call to action, right? This is why we come together and have these important discussions here. So we all have a responsibility in supporting, retaining, and graduating students here on our campus. We don't have an office of retention on our campus. I think that falls to all of us, whether we're in housing or financial aid or admissions or one of the career centers, I think it's important to always have that thought in mind to make sure our current students are being successful. So think about what your role on campus is and how you're supporting students and any connections you can make to make sure that our students are continuing to be successful here. And then a big question for me is, are there any opportunities for you to collaborate with All in Milwaukee and the Office of Student Financial Aid and anybody else on campus here? And how do we work together to support students? I think there's always those opportunities where I like to say I do such a good job, or we do such a good job of listening to Tiffany and Lauren and seeing what they need and making those connections. But anything that you all see out there that maybe we haven't come and knocked on your door yet, are there opportunities that you see for us to make All in Milwaukee and the students that we're collectively supporting make their time on campus more successful? And what are some examples of collaborations that you're already involved in on campus that we can know about to ultimately help students more? And what conversations are you having around supporting students on campus post-pandemic? We're always looking to, especially our sophomore class, we're talking about having that freshman year again for our sophomore students who weren't able to connect and have that regular freshman experience. So any opportunities you see there to kind of pull in and throw another hug around our All in Milwaukee students, we would love to know about that as well. And then are there specific initiatives your department has implemented as a result of the pandemic that would be helpful for us to know? So these are all ideas, things that we're talking about on a daily basis within our office, with our campus partners, All in Milwaukee being one of them. What are some of those things that we can know about that would ultimately help support students in a greater way? So let's see. That's our call to action. Again, just want to think about ways that we can, big picture, create the structural change. We have all these opportunities for smaller situational success things, but how can we add those things up and create some structural change? So at this point, we'd love to take any questions that may be out there and answer those for the group.
Okay, so it looks like we do have a couple questions coming in. You might have answered the first one. This is from Ian Kenobi. He wanted to know, I apologize. He wanted to know, since you mentioned working with places in Milwaukee for internships, are students also presented with jobs internship opportunities here in Madison? Mentioned that when they were a low-income student coming from Southeast Wisconsin, they spent most of their breaks in Madison because they couldn't afford to take much time off from a job that paid for their food and rent. Most low-income students that they know did the same. On-campus jobs don't give enough hours to support oneself. So the question is, are students in Madison also presented with jobs and internship opportunities here?
Yes, thank you so much for your question. I think the important thing to remember is that the goal is that they infiltrate the Milwaukee workforce, because we know that Milwaukee has different barriers such as segregation and other racism and different challenges. And so our goal is to make Milwaukee an appealable place for diverse leaders to live, thrive, build their families, and infiltrate the workforce. So our goal essentially is for the scholars to get a paid internship, and most of the time internships pay more than a job, say at a fast food restaurant or somewhere like a grocery store, etc. Our goal is to make sure that we connect them to the resources so that they are able to come back home and get that Milwaukee experience, so that when they graduate, our goal of keeping them in Milwaukee and making sure that they have exposure to different companies and opportunities and work culture so that they can make the best decision for them upon graduation. We never discourage students from staying in Madison. Some students do feel like it is a safer environment for them. They have more space to be independent. They have their mental health feels better to stay in Madison. And so we do have some opportunities that we connect them to through personal connections and relationships in Madison. And so if a student says, hey, I plan to stay in Madison and this is what I'm looking for, we do our best to make those connections so that they can stay in Madison, but we don't necessarily have like a streamline of internships that we push them towards in Madison, because the goal is for them to get experiences in Milwaukee. But if it's safer and better and more appealable for them to stay here, we do connect them to internships, but we also make sure that we have emergency grants and things that hold them over through the summer, so that, let's say they ran through whatever their refund amount was or whatever they put in savings for the year. If they run into a situation where they say, hey, I'm going back home, but I need money for food and transportation, and I need money to sustain myself, they can apply for additional funds to have that stability over the summer, so that they're not worrying about working a job that's not moving them towards career readiness, so that they can focus on their internship, which most of the times pay better and pay more, and are in the direction of what they hope to do with their lives.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Lauren. I actually just want to add a little bit to that. We are definitely a Milwaukee home sort of believer, and for all the reasons that Lauren stated, we are absolutely trying to transform the Milwaukee community. As our program has grown, I think our strategy is also evolving, and so we are actually working with several partners here in the city of Madison. Some of our students, like Lauren said, are staying in Madison and working, and we've had a few who've already secured internships for this next summer here in the city of Madison. And so as we're starting to see kind of regional expansion with moving into Racine with some of our donor partners support, and then also seeing how large our campus community and our scholars at UW-Madison are, we are really starting to say that, you know, we are going to be looking in other markets and thinking about Wisconsin. I think the goal is for us to make sure that our students are retained here. Oftentimes when we think about students of color, sorry, there's some feedback. When you think about students of color, particularly from Wisconsin, and particularly from Milwaukee, oftentimes the goal is to just exit, you know, after graduation, and that brain drain is a huge issue in our community, which is why we really are trying to keep students here in Milwaukee, but specifically, I think, within Wisconsin and the Wisconsin market. So I hope that answers the question.
I also wanted to add that we also advocate for remote internships. So Barrett in particular is one of our partner organizations that offer students corporate internships that are remote. So some of our students do end up deciding to stay in Madison while doing a remote Milwaukee-based internship. So there are different opportunities that the pandemic opened up for our Madison students to still be able to get that experience while staying in Madison. Mm-hmm. We also wanted to ask if there were more questions and if they could be read to us, and if anybody had a comment on the presentation or anything like that, we also welcome those as well.
There is more questions. Bridget Powell would like to know if there is any connections with the Odyssey Project through the Division of Continuing Studies. Realize the connection may be tenuous, but it seems like there would be a built-in relationship, or could at least be a conversation.
Yeah, that's a great question, and a very timely one too. We do have a connection separate from all in Milwaukee, but the Office of Student Financial Aid does work with the Odyssey Project on a number of different levels. Jeff Fund on our team, JP, he works most regularly with the Odyssey Project, and coming up here soon, actually, Pahua Zhang on our team. I talked about our financial wellness, financial capability program, and she's going to be working with the Odyssey Project, the group there, on some financial wellness initiatives. So there's a number of opportunities there. And then we also have partnered with the Odyssey Behind Bars project to support students or folks who are looking to become students once again after their time. And we most recently, or most commonly, I guess we should say, we've been working with Oak Hill Correctional Facility down in Oregon to support students there. So yeah, we've been working with the Odyssey Project as they're interested and opportunities arise.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Katie Free would like to know if you have any plans to keep in touch with the students who support long-term to gather longer-term data.
I would say yes. There's a number of them that I'll just say jokingly that have my cell phone number and like to text when they need things. So I would imagine that we'll stay friends for a while. But I'll let Lauren and Tiffany jump in here.
They gonna always call and text. Thank you for that question. Absolutely. One of the things that we are grateful for is our partners at Wallen, because they have been doing this for over 30 years. And so we have already really started working on our alumni plan. For us, we really, the work that we do, we really make a 6-year commitment to students, even beyond kind of their scholarship support, because we do have a major focus on career. And so making sure that we can help support students into whatever workforce or graduate program or med school or law school and all of those things. And so we will definitely be having an alumni database. And then we also really see our alumni who are soon to come. It's crazy that we're going to have graduates next year already, are going to be those who then return back to the program as our career partners, as our career mentors, presenting and putting on workshops for our students. And so we are strong believers in alumni and the power that they have, and have a full kind of alumni engagement plan as we move forward to make sure that we're keeping in touch with those students and young professionals and making sure that they're secure in their careers, while also recognizing their desire to give back and to continue to support the work that we do in the program.
Ryan Lucky would like to know that are students referred to your program via financial aid, or do they directly apply? Also, are you able to offer outreach to secondary students to increase visibility for emerging scholars?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the first part of the question again? Please repeat the whole question.
Yes. Ryan Leckie would like to know, are students referred to the program via financial aid, or do they directly apply? And then secondly, are you able to offer outreach to secondary students to increase visibility for emerging scholars?
Oh, absolutely. So that is actually a part of our model. So they don't apply with financial aid here. They apply through their high schools or community-based organizations like the Boys and Girls Club or the United Community Center, or like Lauren talked about earlier, Pearls for Teen Girls, Milwaukee Fellows. So we work with a host of organizations, including high schools, as well as community organizations that have strong pre-college programs to nominate students to enter into our program. So we have a full application process that they will go through to become an All in Milwaukee Scholar, because there is a substantial scholarship that they are offered. And then during that period, our partners at UW-Madison are also working, thanks to Greg and team, with the admissions team, to then make sure that we're supporting those students in decision-making to choose UW-Madison, to understand the package at UW-Madison and what our aid and the UW-Madison aid looks like as a package. And so then in the end, then we collaborate and work together to support those students. And so the second part of your question is, yes, we are working on the secondary side. We really believe our work begins, kind of our space is when the student hits college. So we really rely heavily on our pathway partners, is what we call them, to make sure that students are getting all of that support up till they graduate from high school. And then we kind of have that handoff where they transition into our program. Other questions?
Jamie Lilburn would like to know if you could speak more on the Summer Bridge program and how it's implemented. Would you also talk about the duration, cost, and the information that is covered and how it is received by students?
So All in Milwaukee does not have a formal Summer Bridge program. We did talk about the Summer Collegiate experience here at UW-Madison. So I think I can pass it to Greg to talk a little bit more about that specifically. But from an All in Milwaukee perspective, we work with students when they are getting ready to graduate high school. So really May of their senior year. And we work with them to transition them kind of through the completion of that college kind of enrollment process. So we help finish any housing needs, help get them into registration or SOAR so that they're able to register for classes. And then we kind of do a series of meetings throughout the summer to help with the transition, and also to really eliminate summer melt, which we think has really had a great impact in the work that we do. So we do summer socials, we do summer events. We bring our students together with their donor partners so they know who's investing with them. So those are kind of the different pieces that All in Milwaukee does in the summer. And then we rely really on our university partners to have those structured summer support programs.
Yeah, I'll just touch a little bit more on the summer collegiate experience. And this, I mean, obviously the students who are able to participate, get into the summer collegiate experience and participate in that. It's very successful for them. And I don't know number-wise how many we had last year. Do you guys recall? Yeah, just a handful of our 27 incoming students that were able to get into the program. But that's an opportunity, again, that we would, that we, and I'm sure talking to the SCE team too, like the more seats that are available, obviously, like there's I think a good demand there for SCE across camp, like from a lot of different areas on campus, because of the success that we know that experience can provide. So that's a goal of ours, is to get more of our students, those students who again are available. Like not all schedules may permit, depending on what students have going on in the summertime, but that's one of our goals with All in Milwaukee, is to get more students, the ones who want to and are able to be able to participate in the summer collegiate experience. And then I'll actually reverse back to the previous question. So one of the fun things about All in Milwaukee and the talented students that they attract from Milwaukee, we're then able to see of those students that, so they talked about the 95 that were admitted to All in Milwaukee. So they have a separate application process from our admissions application process and our FAFSA application process. But of the 95 they admitted, there were probably 250 that they could have admitted into their program. And so the fantastic thing about it is they kind of give us a heads up on who those extra 150 students are, 155 students are, so then we can then make sure that we're helping them through our admissions application process, our FAFSA application process, getting them through verification, all of those different hurdles and barriers. And so of that group, we know that these students who are attracted to apply to All in Milwaukee, many of them are also interested in applying to UW-Madison. And so we're doing everything we can, again, to make sure that they have the experience that they need to get through those application cycles with us too. So we're working hard with our admissions team. Renee Corner and the diversity outreach and recruitment team have been fantastic partners, again, for All in Milwaukee and us here in OSFA to support all students getting through the process. So we're excited about that and what the future can hold there too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we don't have any more questions, but I do have a few people talking about possible collaborations. So,
ooh, all right, yeah.
Yes.
Daniel Hairston Green said the Division of Extension has been providing services to limited access families for all over the state and recently hired a county extension educator in Milwaukee. It would be an excellent opportunity for a collaboration, as they are wanting to do more work in the area for financial education. Are you familiar with the extension?
Yeah, we've worked, our team here in OSFA has worked with the Division of Extension in Milwaukee a little bit, if I remember correctly, but definitely like in more rural areas of the state too. So, but we would love to have that connection. So if that could be, we're trying to jot it down here, but if that could be passed along to us, that would be fantastic. And thank you so much for sharing that.
Definitely. And then Tom Brown also said, in response to Greg's question number 2, he would love to partner with All in Milwaukee and programming that supports the students. How would you like him to connect?
Can you see my business card? Send me an email, greg.offerman@wisc.edu. That would be perfect. Yeah, thank you.
I'll also send that in an email to him.
Yeah.
And then Rachel Eilers, she says she works for the Chicano and Latino Studies program and would love to be an advisor or campus collaborator for these students. Awesome.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
So if it's okay, I'm not sure if you would like all three of them to contact me through your email.
Yeah, that would be perfect, and we'll make the connections there as soon as we can.
One more question did just come through. It says, does all in work with graduate students, or do you know of similar programs for graduate students? And that is from Jana Vallejo.
Not yet.
Yeah, we don't. They haven't worked with graduate students yet, just because they're in there. They have 3 cohorts of students now, with the oldest group being juniors in college. So they haven't gotten to that point yet. But check back in 2 years, probably for sure. We'll have some of their students going to graduate school.
And I think that is it for questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much. This has been a ton of fun. I always enjoy every time I get to join a presentation and make a connection with our All in Milwaukee team around campus. So thank you all for joining and for participating and discussing and asking questions and helping to spread the word about our awesome program and collaboration here at UW-Madison.
Oh, just a moment, Greg. One more question.
Perfect.
From Betsy Wood. It says, I'm a biological student or systems engineering in CALS, and we offer an alternative to students with STEM interest, and we don't see a good fit in COE.
Is that like a potential opportunity for students to know about?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, again, that's a great connection and idea to offer, because we're always looking for, again, like we're talking about the different barriers that students face, and this happens to all different students on our campus, you know, seeking their first desired major, and for those opportunities that maybe don't come true, finding those parallel plans are important steps for us to take, and ones that we're always looking for, especially with our All in Milwaukee students. So thank you, Betsy, for sharing.